Without further ado, Reverend Michael.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Andy, I think this needs to be turned on back there. If not, we'll make adjustments. Yes? No? Nada? No. Nada? Nada. Let's see, try it again. Well.
No.
No problem. No problem. There's more than one way to make a joyful noise. And this is one. Thank you. So good morning.
Good morning.
One of the first things that one learns in ministerial training is to be flexible and to make it seamless or appear to be. And I know last Sunday appeared seamless. I think there's a few of us here that would not probably do quite as well as Reverend Louis did last Sunday, from what I'm told. So I honor you for your inner strength and commitment, first of all. And don't do that ever again to us, okay? Especially when you're across the nation enjoying family dysfunction as I was. But we have fun with that. More to come in the lesson. So, a joyful noise. Another day, another opportunity. How many of us say that to ourselves? Oh boy, another day, another opportunity. Oh boy, it's Monday. Or oh boy, it's Friday. Depending on where you live in your mind. Well, I am one who prefers to offer up a mental avenue in order for life to provide that which I require. So for me to state another day, another opportunity opens the door of greater possibility for the reciprocal nature of spirit to show itself. To show itself. I must open the door. In our teaching, The Science of Mind, the reciprocal nature of spirit is clarified for us in the textbook. This wonderful tool that we find so useful in our daily life. And I know the students here who've taken class, certainly in class, there comes a great understanding because people have experiences during the class to get to use the principle and have it explained. So, Ernest Holmes tells us, and I quote, "The parable of the prodigal son constitutes one of the greatest spiritual lessons in the history of religious education. It is an attempt on the part of the great teacher to show that God turns to us as we turn to him. The him is the directive power of spirit. And that there is a reciprocal action, which is a mutual or shared experience between the universal and the individual mind. Spirit, God's mind, and our individual use of it. And that the Spirit is ready to help us whenever we turn to it. Whenever we turn to it. So, for me, that's much like a stringed instrument, Binda. You and I are urged by Spirit to come into the harmony of creation. By accepting the perfect balance of our emotion and desire, we open to the greater. When we are in tune with the infinite, our lives show up as happy and healthy. It is in this tuned place in consciousness where our awareness is heightened, our outlook clarified, and our sense of well-being is more deeply felt. And so by embracing an in-tune consciousness is the peaceful state of mind. is being in that peacefulness that we say, oh, let's have more peace. Well, where does it start? Not in the world, because we see evidence to the contrary. So it has to begin within our own minds, with our action toward the world. Embracing an in-tune consciousness is the peaceful state of mind where all is right with the world. Where all is right with the world. When our view is from this perspective of good, all experience falls into its rightful place in divine order. One of my favorite authors for little snippets is Ram Dass. And so he wrote this: everything in your life is there as a vehicle for your transformation. Use it. Use it. So by recognizing what is for our use is attuning with the laws of spirit. And then standing in faith and trust of the divine order of God. All the while, vibrantly anticipating the next manifestation for us, from it, of it, as it, through us. Because it can only work by working through us. This attuning that I'm referring to is creating a new mental avenue for us when we attune to it. And the mental avenue I choose this morning is the avenue of joy. Anyone care to travel with me?
Yes, yes.
All right. Now I promise that it will be a great adventure where we can make a joyful noise. I promise that. Okay? Promised you. So let's get moving and make some noise, okay?
Yes.
So when we move into anything in joy, what does it do? It opens doors of a greater experience. No matter what the current situation in your world, or what we're facing, or what we're running away from. I used to do that more often than I do now. Run away from it. So, witness. Remember, Spirit is ready, ever ready to assist anytime we turn to it. Anytime. Spirit extracts from us and reflects back to us all we project into it, like a movie camera. Spirit accepts the impress, the image, through the open shutter of the mind, and records and stores that image in our consciousness so that it may be replayed. So how many times are you surprised when you replay something that you have recorded? I didn't see that. I didn't see those. I didn't see that. Oh. That wasn't in the background of that picture. Or my all-time favorite is, that's a bad picture. Doesn't look a thing like me. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. The camera thought so. And so does mind. So does mind. So does spirit. Mind does not make mistakes. Throughout our lives, we don't always see the stuff going on around us, or even consciously remember it. But subconscious mind does. And this is why we sometimes get more than we bargain for. Now, it's not a bad thing. It's an awareness. This teaching is about awareness. To be aware in life. You know, you don't drive your car with your eyes closed. Well, most of us don't. Most of the time. But you got to pay attention to the signs. There's speed limits and speed bumps and curves, and they can be quite fun if we're expecting them, knowing they're coming, rather than being surprised, thrown off base. So Science of Mind founder Dr. Ernest Holmes tells us, since the individual subjective mind is the storehouse of memory, it retains all that the eye has seen, the ear heard, or the mentality conceived. Since it contains much that the outer man never consciously knew, and is the receptacle of much of the race knowledge, the news media. Not bashing, just awareness. Through unconscious communication is how it sometimes works. It must and does have a knowledge that far surpasses the objective faculties. So our subconscious mind is always busy, ever active. And the objective faculties are what we see as the outer world. So if we understand we have been conditioned by the history of our lives, how can we refocus the lens of our minds and thus have a greater sense of joy in our future? How do we do that? How do we do that? Well, because sure as pancakes need maple syrup for me to eat them, we must get rid of another J word in order to make room for a joyful noise. And that J word is judgment. That J word is judgment. Judgment means limitation. And that you and I have a predetermined image of the outcome. When we're in judgment, we predetermined how we think it should look. Remember the camera metaphor? We look through a lens and click. Do we pay close attention to what we've taken a picture of? To that which we are accepting into our lives through our mind and thinking? Well, maybe in the limited scope of the camera lens we've done that. But just as in life, when we narrow our view, there is no room for the bigger picture. There is no room for anything more. I'm not saying what we're capturing isn't good, but there's always more good. You know, it's human nature to judge. Human nature to judge. So we can place a value upon the outer world. But it's not our true spiritual nature.